Let's talk about When Evil Lurks. When Evil Lurks is a 2023 Argentinian horror film by Demián Rugna, the same director behind Aterrados, another great horror film. I really love the creativity of the lore and the ideas in When Evil Lurks, and a lot of the backstory is laid out in a way where the viewer has to piece it together, and I really think this way of storytelling is really cool. But I could totally understand why some people may find plot holes or still have a lot of questions after the ending credits begin to roll. But overall, with all the generic, uncreative, similar horror movies being pumped out by Hollywood currently, once again, international horror breathes life into the genre. The movie throws us into rural Argentina with Pedro and his brother Jimmy, also known as Jaime. One night, they overhear gunshots and prepare to investigate in the morning.
¿Escuchaste? ¿Qué es nuestro campo eso?
In the morning after setting out to investigate, they find a rotting body mutilated, completely cut in half, in a forest nearby the property of their neighbor Ruiz. They discuss what could have done this. Jaime at first proposes the idea of a puma attacking the man, but Pedro says it had to be something sharp to split the body in half. They find a suitcase with the man with various unknown instruments and a journal. Jaime says he's seen these instruments before, but he isn't sure where, or at least he doesn't remember when he's seen them. With the info in the journal, they discovered that the man was specifically headed towards another neighbor, an old lady named Maria Elena.
¿Qué le pasa a estos perros? Hola, María Elena.
They arrive at Maria Elena's house. She tells them that the man they found was coming to kill her son. They go inside. Pedro and Jaime have a bro moment when they see her son Uriel's rotting and bloated body.
Bruh.
Got it.
Bro is literally massive. He is the definition of a Left 4 Dead boomer. We get some more world building here as Maria's younger son chimes in saying that Uriel is possessed, and Maria says she thought praying would help. Pedro angrily tells her that the church is dead. We can only assume that there must have been previous cases similar to Uriel's, and somehow ties into the churches. The brothers ask if they have reported Uriel's state to the authorities, and Maria says it's been a year since they contacted the police. Pedro and Jaime confront the police, and they have doubts about their account of Uriel's possession, and say they were never informed about him in the first place. The police say that there is a specific protocol to contact the Department of Health, and that they send cleaners, basically saying that it's not the business of the police to deal with possessed ones.
Para estos casos. Nosotros llamamos, viene salubridad, ellos lo resuelven. Listo. Eso es lo que vamos a hacer.
The brothers leave the police station and meet with their neighbor Ruiz to inform him of the situation and figure out what to do next. Ruiz is worried that the whole area will be marked and become a ghost town if they don't do anything about Uriel. He mentions that he's already noticed the evil spreading as his dogs were acting odd and ran away months ago. We learn that the evil makes animals go crazy, and even the already deceased. They all agree that they need to do something about Uriel ASAP. Later that night, Ruiz is having dinner with his wife and he is anxious about the situation. He storms out of the dining room as his wife shouts at him not to do anything drastic. The next shot is him pulling up to Maria Elena's house with a shotgun and he busts down her door. Maria begs him not to kill Uriel. She says if he kills him it'll just make everything worse and the evil will spread and take everyone's bodies and souls. Ruiz points his shotgun towards Uriel and taunts him saying, "Kill me, you coward." He mentions Ruiz's pregnant wife and says he will possess the life growing inside of her if he kills her. Ruiz ultimately decides not to kill him and returns back to his truck. The brothers and Ruiz's wife show up and are glad that he didn't kill Uriel. Pedro and Jaime think it's time for him to dip out, but Ruiz believes it's Uriel that needs to leave and suggests they move his body at least 3 hours away. He convinces Pedro not to be a coward and to think of his family. They move Uriel with his bed sheets and put him in the bed of Ruiz's truck. The scene is really nasty. Uriel's dripping meat juice everywhere. On the way to dumping the body, Ruiz isn't paying attention to the road and nearly hits a kid crossing the street, swerving just in time. They keep on driving and find a suitable place to dump the body, but when they open the bed of the truck, Uriel is nowhere to be found. They realize the body must have fell out when they swerved out of the way from the kid earlier. Jaime says it was only 20 minutes behind and they could go search for it. Ruiz says they're far enough, and it's no longer their problem. The next morning, the evil has already spread and returned back to the village. Ruiz's wife Jimena brings the attention of a peculiar goat amongst the herd, believing it has been possessed. Ruiz fires his shotgun in the air, causing all the goats to flee except for the one goat Jimena pointed out. He aims his gun at the goat, but Jimena begs he uses an axe instead, insisting that using a firearm will condemn them and spread the evil even further. He tells her to be quiet as the goat slowly walks towards them and presses its head against the barrel of the shotgun. Ruiz pulls the trigger and immediately Jimena takes the axe and swings it against Ruiz's head. I like this scene because it makes you think about whether or not Jimena was immediately possessed or she was worried that Ruiz became possessed and she killed him to protect her and her child. But either way, after killing Ruiz, she then takes the axe toward herself, brutally bashing it into her own face multiple times. The next morning they head into town and Jaime drops Pedro off at his ex-wife's house, where she lives with her new husband. It's clear Pedro isn't welcome here. He shoves himself through the front door after confronting his ex-wife's new husband, Leo. Pedro asks for a set of new clothes for him and Jaime. He begins to strip down in the kitchen as his wife comes in and tells him that he needs to leave. There is a shot of the family dog taking a good whiff of Pedro's evil, stinky clothes on the floor. Pedro changes into fresh clothes and then proceeds to go outside to burn his old clothes. Pedro's ex-wife argues with him outside and mentions that he is violating his restraining order, letting us know that there is definitely bad blood between the two. Pedro's son Santino runs outside, excited to see his dad, and they all go back inside and continue to argue. Pedro says they all need to leave with him, bringing up the evil and how he's seen a possessed one. Pedro's ex-wife, Sabrina, doesn't believe him at all. She says it's unfair of him to disappear for 4 years and to show up out of nowhere. As they all argue, the dog viciously attacks Vicky, the daughter of Sabrina and Leo, and Santino witnesses it. He yells at Leo to help her, and the dog drags her out of the house, through the front door, and runs off. I think this is probably one of the most shocking parts of the movie, because you really aren't expecting it that much, and the dog does like viciously attack the young girl.
¿Cómo tengo que hacer para que entre el ratón? ¡Me estás ahogando!
¡Todavía la voz, extraterrazo! ¡Te estoy diciendo que hay un desdichado! ¿Qué mierda tenés en la cabeza?
¡Estás delirando! ¿Vos escuchás lo que decís? No se lo puedo, nene, por favor.
¿Qué pasa?
¡Pero murió Vicky! ¡La está lastimando!
Leo and Pedro run outside to chase the dog. Pedro gives up and goes back to the house to grab Santino and his other son, Ayer, who is autistic. Pedro tries his best to get Ayer out of bed and get him downstairs. Downstairs, Leo is freaking out, loading a gun, and telling Pedro he needs to help him get Vicky. Pedro warns him not to use the gun and that the dog is no longer just a dog but a demon. Leo ignores this and gets into his truck and drives off. Pedro flags down the police and informs them of the situation and to specifically not to kill the dog with firearms. Just a few moments later, a loud gunshot can be heard, and then as you guess it, Leo killed the dog and the evil continues to spread. Pedro runs back to the house and oddly enough sees that Vicky is unharmed somehow. He runs back inside the house to look for car keys and gets Ayer to show him where the keys are by bribing him with the promise of apple ice cream. It's clear Vicky is possessed. She gleefully tells Sabrina that Leo is going to come back and kill her.
Papi va a matarte.
Que mi amor, no te entiendo qué decís.
Que papi va a venir a casa en el auto y ¡pum!
As Pedro pulls away from the house with his sons, he stops as he sees Vicky and Sabrina outside and they make eye contact. And out of nowhere, Leo crashes into her with his truck.
Pa, ¿qué pasó? Pa, toque ese río, ¿qué pasó?
Pedro picks up Jaime and their mother. Here we get more info about the world in this movie, where their mom says she's actually never seen a possessed one. So we can only assume that there hasn't been an outbreak of this evil in many years, and she even says there's a song about it. She mentions several important rules to survive the evil. Don't use electric lights, don't stay close to animals, don't take anything close to them, don't hurt the possessed, never name the evil by its name, don't shoot the possessed with firearms, and they come up with the last rule, which is don't forget the rules.
Eléctrica. No hay que estar cerca de animales. No hay que llevar nada que haya estado cerca de un encarnado. No hay que lastimarlos. Y una cosa muy importante, nunca nombrar a la maldad por su nombre.
¿Los malos tienen nombre?
Pero claro, mira, Lucifer, Azrael,
Mamá.
Belfegor.
Pero los están nombrando.
Sí, tienes razón. Hay una cosa muy importante. Nunca hay que dispararles con armas de fuego.
Pero basta, mamá.
This movie leaves a ton of information for the viewer to figure out on their own. When Evil Lurks focuses on Pedro and his family's experience of this evil, us as viewers only know what they know and see what they see, so we get a microscopic look at the issue, and it never really connects the dots for us to see the bigger picture. We can only assume with the information we're given. Sabrina calls the mom's cell phone, and Pedro snatches the phone and goes outside to answer it. He knows it can't be her calling, and he knows she's possessed, but the call still gets him emotional. Sabrina says she knows where they are and that she is gonna come get her children. Jimmy knows a lady named Mirta that might have lived through something similar like this, and that she could help them with money also. They make the trip to her house and decide it would be best to stay the night and rest there. During the night, Santino is sleeping with his grandmother. The light from his teddy bear breaks the whole don't use electric lights rule, and of course it attracts the evil to them. Sabrina finds them and grabs Santino. Then she yeets herself out the window along with Santino.
¡No! ¡No! ¡Hijo!
Mirta notices Jair's disfigured hands and points out to Jaime that Jair is possessed. She says that she has seen this before, the evil trying to take the body of someone who is autistic or has a disability, but the demon cannot figure out the vessel's mind, leaving them in a catatonic state, unable to control the person they are possessing for the time being.
Mira sus pies y sus manos. Un demonio pasó por su cabeza y quedó atrapado. Ya vi esto antes en autistas. Se meten en su cuerpo, pero no pueden descifrar su mente.
She tells him that fear empowers the evil and that the evil within Uriel's body hasn't been killed yet, and that they are dealing with its birthing process, and the essence of its evil is what's affecting everyone. Mirta has the same equipment as the cleaner they found previously in the beginning of the movie, and says that she can cure Uriel's possessed body if they can find it. Jaime splits with the group to go search for Santino while Pedro and Mirta go look for Uriel's body. They believe it would be best for Jaime to go search for Santino, as Pedro has a fear of losing Santino, and that fear would only help the demon. Jaime finds Santino along with Sabrina, but unfortunately it's already too late, and we get another shocking scene. We see a shot of Sabrina walking down the road as she digs inside Santino's skull, eating his brains like some ramen noodles. It's pretty graphic. Jaime stops his car and is in shock. He looks at Sabrina in horror as she walks past the car, and then he suddenly accelerates into her, ramming them against a tree. Mirta and Pedro suspect a nearby school to be the place where Uriel is hiding. Mirta explains that evil likes children, and children like evil. The next scene we see Jair talking to his grandma, and seemingly his disability has vanished, and is talking clearly and walking as if he was completely a different person. It's obvious now that the evil has taken full control of Jair now. Mirta and Pedro find a classroom full of possessed kids. Mirta tells Pedro that the demon is using the kids to protect itself. The kids tell them multiple different locations where Uriel is, and Pedro loses his cool and goes berserk on one of the younger girls. Mirta calms us down and says that the body has to be here at the school because all the kids are telling them to go somewhere else. Pedro and Mirta head back inside the school, and Pedro starts to pull apart the floorboards of the theater stage in the school, and they discover the bodies of the children's parents. The camera pans to all the kids in the doorway just staring at them. Mirta encourages Pedro to keep going as she thinks Uriel's body has to be under the floorboards with the other deceased. He keeps removing the floorboards as Mirta prepares her equipment. Finally, after lifting all the bodies of the dead parents out of the floorboards, they find Uriel's humongous body, and he begs for death again, encouraging Pedro to kill him. Mirta warns Pedro not to do it, and to also not to listen to anything he says. She tells Pedro that he needs to pull Uriel's body up out of the floorboards, and she needs to stab a part of her demon-killing device into his nape in order to kill it properly. Obviously, Uriel is just way too huge of a unit for Pedro to pull up on his own, so he needs to destroy the floorboard of the stage entirely. Throughout this entire movie, Pedro is sort of kind of dumb. He doesn't always make the best decisions, and he acts very impulsively. He's sort of a hothead and can let his emotions get the best of him. One of the kids tell Pedro that there's a fire axe in another room that he can use to either dismantle the stage or to kill Uriel. It's not too sure exactly what is going through Pedro's head, but for some reason, he decides to listen to the kid, and he runs off to grab the axe. But it's obvious she's trying to separate Pedro from Myrta, and Myrta even points this out to Pedro. And of course, when he gets into the room, they lock him in there, and they gang up on Myrta, dragging her away as one of the little girls bashes her head in with a hammer. Pedro finds a way out of the room, and in his feelings of defeat, he does the one thing he should not do. He kills Uriel. The kids watch and smile as Pedro kills Uriel, and we see the demon be born. A bald kid covered in blood rises out of the floorboards, and all the kids walk out towards the sunset. Pedro returns home, and it seems that the evil has left Ayr's body because he is back to his normal self. We then get a scene where Jaime and Maria Elena's younger son, who they let stay in their barn earlier in the movie, are talking. This kid confesses to hearing a voice that told him to kill the cleaner in the beginning of the film, and he admits to chopping up his body. Then we see Pedro trying to help Ayr as he heard him coughing violently. He digs his finger down his throat to stop him from choking on his ice cream, but it isn't ice cream that he's choking on. Blood, pieces of hair, and the grandmother's necklace fall onto the table, and we learn that Ayr, while possessed, killed the grandmother and ate her. This movie ends with Pedro outside breaking down screaming as Jaime tries to comfort him, and the camera pans away. And that's when evil lurks. I loved how this movie takes a different approach to the possession genre, and it gives us something fresh and new. But what did you guys think of When Evil Lurks? Let me know your thoughts in the comments.